I got to talk. I got to tell what I feel. I got to talk about my life as I see it.
Wiggy.
Wiggy, 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 can't you see?
Tremaine Wiggins has an opinion on everything.
Marathon runners. Athletes?
No.
Aliens?
I don't believe in them.
How about the Spanish Civil War?
You know, I thought it was a war that really didn't need to be fought.
Shit only Wiggy can think of. It's Wiggy's World.
All right, so everybody, if you don't know what's going on, Aaron Hernandez took his own life. Now, there's been a lot of people out there saying, you know, reasonings. Why was he killed? Did it have anything to do with law enforcement? I think dude just couldn't deal with everything that was going on. I'm not sad, and I know Ramiro, Mark, I mean, there's people who said they're sad, but I'm not sad because when you choose a lifestyle and you murder people and then you take your own life, I don't feel no remorse for you at all.
No, I'm not sad at all. I'm shocked because I thought that I was like, all right, he was in the NFL. He did his thing. He tried to be a tough dude. Once he went to prison and got the tattoo and was always making the tough guy faces, I was like, oh, he's just embracing the prison lifestyle. But at the end of the day, he ended up showing that he's a coward.
And you know the crazy thing about this is because we've always had this conversation. Is like when it happened, it was like, you know, I would always say about Hernandez, he was a gangster who was playing football. Like you could tell, like that was his lifestyle. Like you know people that you grew up with that no matter what they do, they'll always be gangsters. Mm-hmm. That's what they know. That is their life. And I thought that about Hernandez. And when he ultimately kills himself, then I'm like, well, you're not really a gangster because a true gangster who lives by that lifestyle will say to himself, I'm not taking my own life. I'm going to rot in jail and I'm going to live my life, the remainder of my life in jail. And I think it was more him portraying this gangster mentality. And then when the lights started getting bright on him, you know, he's obviously looking at life in prison without parole for the Odin Lloyd murder. Then he gets off for the double homicide. But I think he knew, like, yo, I'm never going to see the light of day. Right. Imagine that. You're 20. How old was he?
27.
27 years old.
Right.
And he knows he's never going to see the light of day.
I felt a little bit sad, to be honest.
Did you?
Okay, the only reason is because of the connection on the field. Like, seeing him play those couple seasons,
right.
those two tight end sets, him and Gronk, they went on and won 2 Super Bowls without him.
Right.
And you're always like, man, this dude literally had it all. Like, he could have been a multiple Super Bowl champion, had his whole life set up for him, and then he goes out and just does does the dumbest shit. So like I felt some kind of connection to him in terms of watching him. So it's always like a little bit sad, but overall, I'm like, the guy was kind of a fucking scumbag. Like, let's be
honest, because that's the thing. You know, when you take the life of somebody, of an innocent person, right? And Odin Lloyd, he took his life. Took this dude out to, you know, a half a mile away from his house and some whatever, ran the area, put a few bullets in him. Like, I don't have any remorse for people that do that.
Right, you got to keep that in context because people hear Hernandez killed himself and they forget. Like, we have such a canny ability to just, like, move on. But, like, yeah, you're right. You put yourself in those situations. He's literally in the car knowing this dude's about to get killed.
Right.
And, like,
so now
doesn't care.
And so now we are supposed to sit here and granted, yes, what he did on the football field, he was a tremendous player, but that means nothing.
Good.
He was good. And you talk about the money he just got. Yeah. You think, like, this dude just signed a nice contract. He got a shitload of money. He's got everything going for him. And in his mind to do the shit that he was doing and, you know, paranoid about people trying to kill him. So he's putting himself around these characters that are real shady and then ultimately takes somebody's life, goes to jail for it, and now he kills himself. I think it's the cowardly way of doing it because I'd rather you rot in jail.
Well, that's the other thing. Did he actually do it?
Did he kill himself? Abso-fucking-lutely he did. 100%. He definitely was not murdered. Here's why he killed himself. He was probably like a little fucking low-key thug before he got into the NFL. He got into, like, I see from a distance, I can see exactly how it played out. He was a little low-key thug, got into the NFL, made a ton of fucking money,
Right.
Yeah.
got a bunch of fake ass fucking friends.
Right.
That yep.
Felt like a little bit of his little.
Felt like Scarface.
Felt like I literally was gonna say Tony Montana. I couldn't think of his name. Felt like his little
right.
Tony Montana bullshit. The second it all started collapsing on him, he realized, fuck, I don't have any fucking real friends.
Right.
I'm in jail for the rest of my fucking life.
Yep.
I blew a huge shit. Again, it's not just like. It's one thing to be like, oh, I could have played in the NFL, in the NBA.
Right.
That's a big thing as it is. But this dude could have been on one of the greatest teams in the history
right.
of the sport. And even if you broke down all the sports and put them together and said, who's some of the greatest teams, they would probably be in the top 5 probably.
Yeah.
And he fucked that up.
And he was a big part of the team, too.
Yeah.
When you talk about what he was doing on the football field, though, it wasn't like he was just a guy that played, a few plays here and
Yes.
there. He was a big part of the team.
Who know? He could have been Gronkowski for all we know.
Right.
Who the fuck know? Like the biggest waste of talent I've ever seen in my life. Like he didn't get addicted to drugs and get
Right.
that like weird.
Right.
He just fucking blew it because he couldn't.
Except for the
Yeah.
PCP thing.
But no.
He was like
but
always high. on that
Like
shit.
I see what Ramiro saying. You feel sad for the person who, is an athlete, plays, gets addicted to drugs, starts doing a bunch of drugs, loses their money over some bullshit. Then they're out of the league. They homeless. They're this. They're that. They haven't harmed anybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then ultimately they get to a point where they feel like they have nothing to live for, and they take their own life.
Yeah.
You feel sad in a way for that person. You still feel like, well, you put yourself in that position,
Yeah.
but you still feel a little sad for that person.
Yeah.
But when you look at the lifestyle that
Right.
he was trying to portray, and
he got what he deserved.
right, and that's the thing. You were living the Scarface lifestyle,
Right.
but you did not finish the movie. You only got
Right.
to the part where he was living good and he's sitting in the hot
Right.
tub and that kind of thing. And that's why when I look at the whole Hernandez situation, and I start to think the only one I feel sad for is his daughter. And I don't even feel sad for the fiance because she was part of it.
and she enjoyed it. You can
Right.
tell she enjoyed it.
She was
Right.
part of it, and when she was on the stand in the first, in the Odin Lloyd trial, she was like, he gave her the bag, she didn't remember, so she was almost a conspiracy to him and the lifestyle that he was living, rather than saying, yo, Aaron, we got a little girl we need to support. Let's,
Right.
do something
Right.
positive, or let's figure out a way to get you out of this lifestyle. And she wasn't trying to do that. That's why I said
Right.
that when I see the little girl who's 4 years old, something of that age, and now for the rest of her life, she's going to have to answer these questions.
Right. Now, a lot of people are starting to talk that, okay, yes, he probably killed himself, but there's a chance that he might not have. Now, what is the argument for that side of it? What do you think could have happened where why would somebody kill him?
Why would somebody kill him? Okay, so let's see. He just got off for double murder. Even though he's in jail for life, maybe somebody connected to those victims,
The ones that he got off for.
the ones that he got off
Yes,
for.
that's what I was thinking too.
You know,
who knows,
Yeah,
dude?
but,
In those
but
systems?
those people would then have to have some connection into.
But aren't you dealing with like criminals?
No,
like,
no. But you'd have to have a connection into the correctional department to get a CO, or to have a CO in your pocket, a correctional officer in your pocket, to allow you to go into his room. Because you got to understand, he was in a maximum security penitentiary. So
Right.
he wasn't just like, it wasn't
Yeah.
like he was just out in the yard with everybody
Yeah.
else. He was in his own cell, locked down 23 hours
Yeah.
a day. So if it was somebody who murdered him, there would have to be some connection to the correctional department,
Right,
or some
right.
officials in there that would allow them to get into a cell or whatever it might have been.
to look the other way. I mean,
Right.
But then again, and I still think he committed suicide. But if we're going with the murder theory, I mean, I'm sure that in prison he was probably acting like he was the shit
Right.
too. And then it's easy to be like, I
Yeah.
know if I'm the guard and someone's gonna like, yo, I'm gonna go kick Aaron's ass.
Well, let me ask you
it's
something.
easy for me
though.
to be like, all right, cool, I'll just take a little bit
But
longer.
let me ask you
do
something.
my-
Right.
Why cover that up? Like, how many times have we seen people, like, why wouldn't it have been Aaron Hernandez was killed in prison? Like, stabbed or whatever. Why
maybe
would
that's not a good look for the prison. Now you're talking about law enforcement fumbling like that?
Well, but I mean, it happens all the time, and
but not to like high named individuals. Like that dude's a celebrity pretty much.
Well,
You feel less bad for him too. If he gets murdered, you're like,
that's true. That's true.
Right, but look at the Jared Fogle situation, the guy from Subway, right? And granted, when you start to look at him, he was a dirtbag scumbag, right? But when he got beat up in jail, there was no
It's this weird hierarchy that society has in terms of how we view criminals. Yeah. Like, there is no respect or anything for pedophiles.
No, none at all.
They could get in there and they could get skinned alive and people would be like, that's cool. But, like, if Hernandez, I can see what you're saying, Ramiro. If Hernandez got killed, there would be, like, more sympathy for him, a little bit. That's kind of my way of seeing it.
I'm not buying the whole the whole murder conspiracy.
Yeah. I'm not either. I'm just because a lot of people, it's all over social
Right.
media. Everyone's talking about it.
If that was to come out that he was actually murdered,
Yeah.
I would be 100% shocked, and I would be like, whoa, because I just feel like, I mean, obviously there are a lot of corrupt people in all walks of life. you know. But I, for some reason, I just feel like, to me, that would just be like, to be part of that, like, okay, if it's a suicide, there's going to be an investigation because of his celebrity status. So to run the risk of being part of some type of conspiracy
that's true. You don't want to get involved with that.
Exactly. That led to you helping somebody kill Hernandez.
Right.
I just don't buy a person putting their livelihood on the line and saying, okay, we forgot to lock the door.
Right.
Prisoner X went in there and choked him.
He probably did kill himself. And like seeing the footage from the other day when he was in court crying, seeing his daughter, even though he got off, he still knew there's no chance. Like, I'm in here for life. Maybe seeing the kid added to it.
Well, see, that's the thing that I think about is when I saw him crying. Like, I always look at it like this. I have this thing about people who take the lives of innocent people and who do these crazy shit, pedophiles and all that other stuff. I always look at it like this. Don't cry now because the judge just threw the book at you. Don't all of a sudden turn into this person who you're breaking down because of the lifestyle that you led. You know what I mean? It's almost like if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. And I've always kind of been that type of person. And so when I see him crying and I see that does nothing for me. I look at like, why are you crying now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I start to ask myself, you get to this point, and then I start to figure the reason why you're crying is because reality is setting in my opinion. And now you're looking at life without parole. And they talk about potentially an appeal, and then you hear like all these legal experts talk about the likelihood of him getting out on an appeal was slim to none. And now he knows that, and he starts to say to himself, yo, this is the life that I'm not built for this life.
Day in and day out.
Right.
This bullshit.
Imagine that. And I know it's extremely tough, but try to put yourself in a position where you're locked in an 8x10.
No.
I wouldn't be. I can't handle the
And
prison
you're
life.
27 years old.
Right.
Hell fucking no.
And you had it all.
Right. And you got a little girl. 4 years old. And you'll never see the light. It's one thing to say, okay, I'm locked in this cage, and maybe I can get out
There's
in
a
20
light
years.
at the end of the
Maybe there's that
tunnel.
little hope of, you know what, if I'm good, there's a chance I can get out in 20 years. I'll be 40,
Right.
whatever it is, and I could still maybe turn around and live some type of life, from 50 years old to maybe 80 or something like that.
Right.
But when there's not that little glimpse of light and hope, some people can't handle it, and he could not handle it and decided the only way out for me is to take my own life.
And I feel it's funny because I feel bad for the girl. You feel bad for the girl. Everyone. He didn't feel bad for his fucking daughter. He didn't give a shit about his fucking daughter because the daughter was here before he killed those motherfuckers.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, too, it's like the more I think about it,
And
the
that's
more
a great point right there.
Yeah, and the more I think
Right.
about it, the less bad I feel for him because think about this stuff. If he did it to like a rival gang member or something like that, to me is even more understandable. This motherfucker just killed it. Do you know how easy it is to kill innocent people? That never makes you fucking tough.
And then when that innocent person that you killed is your boy who has no idea that you're about to kill him, that's even worse. But going back on what you said, Ramiro, about his daughter and him not thinking about her, that is to me, that's one of the things that hits home is like, we all have kids in this room. And no matter what type of bullshit you feel like you're dealing with, to know that, okay, if I do something that's gonna take away my freedom as a human being, meaning I'm gonna have to go to jail for a long period of time, knowing that your child is gonna have to suffer for their whole life, and you still going through with that to me, I always look at it and say, you weren't thinking about your kids. You weren't thinking about anything but yourself, and you deserve everything you get.
Right. Or like shooting someone over fucking stepping on your shoes or whatever. Even though he got off, but I mean, yeah.
But why even kill, to this day, right? Do we even know the real reason why he killed Odin Lloyd?
No, because he's a fucking idiot who couldn't fucking handle it.
The rumors out, the rumors out there. Well, these are some of the rumored reasons, because Odin Lloyd knew about the double murder that Hernandez killed. I mean, and killed those two guys. But those are just rumors. So there's no clear cut. We don't know why he killed Odin Lloyd.
Right.
And so you look at that and you say, like, there's not even a reason on why you took this young man's life.
Yeah.
And now you want, I don't necessarily, but you want people I'm not feeling bad for you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to feel bad for him in any way whatsoever.
Right. That's the thing. It's hard to feel bad for all these motherfuckers. Like even the guy that was going around, well, especially him, the dude that was live streaming on Facebook, like.
But that's what I do. But see, this is the thing that pisses me off, is because I look at people who say they do feel bad for Hernandez, and or for people who say they feel bad for people who take their own lives.
Right.
And
there is definitely some hypocrisy there.
Right, because I feel bad for a person. If you guys haven't seen this, you need to check it out. It's called the Khalif Browder story, about the kid in New York who was wrongfully imprisoned in Rikers Island at 16 years old and was there for 3 years, and then ultimately killed himself. Okay.
Was that recent?
Yeah, it was recent. It was recently.
I remember hearing that story.
Right. I feel bad for a person like that, or a person who gets bullied, or a person who's going through a lot of stuff and then does not know how to deal with it and ultimately takes their own life. I don't feel bad for a person who causes harm on others and then decides, you know what? The pressure's coming down on me.
Right.
I'm taking my own life. And I look at people who feel bad for, who say, well, I feel bad for suicide victims. Even if that victim is a
Facebook killer.
Right, of the Facebook killer. So you feel bad for him because he took his own life? That to me I find to be like, I just don't understand how you could say that.
It's weird. I don't feel bad for the Facebook killer. I feel a little bit bad for Hernandez, but it's because of longevity, because of him playing for the Patriots.
He played for them for fucking 3 years. And it was that's another reason why I feel the more I think about it, the less I feel any type of, because this fucking dude was on, if he was on, I can't even think of it. Like, you know how there are some teams out there that it's just like every fucking player's out for himself and they're reckless and they really don't give a shit or whatever.
Yeah.
No, he was on the Patriots, who all like, they have their quarterback is the dude who's like, listen, motherfucker, just play within the system,
right?
And we're gonna win some fucking games. The coach, he's just like, listen, just don't be a fucking idiot,
right?
And so he was on a team that he should have. His behavior was being kind of monitored. You know what I'm saying?
It's super structured.
Like, it wasn't just like, hey, do whatever the fuck you want off the field or whatever. No, it was super structured, and he still fucked that up.
I hear you, man.
And as far as the bully thing that you were talking about, I do. Like, when somebody kills themselves for like being bullied and all that stuff, that's when you feel bad for someone. But I have this thing with when people say they're bullied. I think like, kind of like once you graduate high school, you really can't use the I'm being bullied
So
excuse.
It's more so if you're like 17 and under.
Yeah, like high school and stuff like that. But like, okay, let's say here where we work, right?
Right.
Let's say there's somebody who's constantly getting bullied by another employee, you could either go to the motherfucking boss about it, you could talk to the person straight up, or you could punch him in the fucking face. Like
there are a few different options that you have.
You like just sitting around doing nothing. That's a little bit on you too. I'm not saying that every situation is different. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But sometimes I think people throw out
what you're
the
saying.
I'm getting bullied as an excuse.
As an adult, you have many different options, and your mind is developed enough to figure out how to deal with those options versus a kid who's 16 years old and doesn't really know, still dealing with, I'm just hitting, puberty, for example, and I don't really know how to deal with them internet bullying.
And that's all you've known growing up. Now, again, there could be an adult who as a child in high school, whatever. If that's all you know, that's different. But I just hear sometimes people are like, oh, I'm getting bullied. And I'm like, so fucking punch him in the fucking face.
Yeah, I hear you. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. That is kind of like the blanket statement people use nowadays.
Yes.
I'm getting bullied. It's very like, our society's just that way. But at the same time, like you said, you don't know what people are going through, man. Like, it's just tough, man. You got to put yourself in other people's shoes. So, I don't know.
I just say because I know some people who I kind of grew up with and stuff, and they kind of say that sometimes, and I'm like, listen, motherfucker. I'm like, I grew up with you. You were not fucking bullied. Because if you were bullied, I was bullied. And I wasn't fucking bullied.
Because nowadays, it's different in the world. And, when you think of bullying back in the day, you think about that one kid who was always messing with everybody in the schoolyard. Everybody was afraid of him. That kind of thing. That's what you always thought. And it was like, okay, as parents from back in the day, it was like, listen, you better stand up to that bully. You're not going to let him keep stealing your money or your whatever it might be. You either going to go out there and fight him, or you're going to have to deal with me when you come home as parents. And so as kids back then, we grew up with it where it's like, okay, the best way to beat a bully generally is punch him in his face, because most bullies don't want to fight. And nowadays, because of social media and the internet and all that, it's a different world, and we raise kids differently. It's like where we have kid gloves on them. You know what I mean? Where it's like we tend to, we tend to raise them where they can grow up and they can allow certain things to happen where, hey, when we were growing up, that shit didn't happen. And and
life's
I always
tough. You have to figure out a way to deal with it.
But nowadays it's not like that.
No,
but that's good and bad though. I mean, it's bad because you're right. I mean, it definitely makes you like a little bit softer.
Right.
But it's good because you're like at least a little bit aware of like, yo, I could really be fucking ruining this person's life if you are bullying.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. It's definitely a gray line. It's not black or white.
Yeah, I just bring it up because I feel like a lot of people are making jokes about the Aaron Hernandez thing. And I feel like eventually someone's going to be like, yo, you're bullying somebody who passed away. And I'm like, no, we're fucking not. Everything he did, he brought it on himself, and then he fucking killed himself. Right. I think right now, you're allowed to say whatever the fuck you want about him. I don't give a shit.
And that's what it comes down to. You look at a person and you look at the crime that they commit, and if they commit a heinous crime, they are basically, they're not off limits for anything. No joking memes, nothing. Right. And the body does not even have to be put in the ground. You you live this lifestyle, and everything that comes with it afterwards is, so be it. It is fair game. I gotta give a big shout out to my man Ramiro coming back on and doing the podcast. Mark, great job as usual. That is it for us. We're gonna put a bow on this bitch, wrap it on up, and call it a day.